Welcome in, everybody. How you feeling? I feel terrible. You want to hear some? Whenever somebody starts with, I had a bad bottle of wine last night. Like this just sounds so bougie. But I'm not typically a red blend guy. But the Phillies didn't play last night, so me and the missus, we had some time. I could look in at the Hall of Fame game, and then I could, we could watch that show Bear. I don't know if you guys watch the show Bear or not, but my wife and I are big fans of this show Bear, and. My one cousin was like, "Oh, you got to see the Seven Fish episode." Oh my God, the Seven Fish episode. Now, for those that don't know, a lot of people, Italian Americans. I also heard I'm half Polish. So I never heard Polish people do this, but the Polish people do Seven Fish as well. I did not know that. But if your household does the Seven Fish, it usually is a big thing on Christmas Eve. It's quite the show. All right. If you're an outsider, like if you're a significant other just meeting the family for the first time, typically speaking, that's not a good time to be meeting people. Okay. It's hectic. It's crazy. People are yelling, screaming. It's everything you would imagine that is just craziness. And that episode was on it. So we watched that last night. We opened a bottle of wine that was gifted to us. And it's not like a hangover thing. I only had like a glass. But dude, you're not supposed to get heartburn from that. And that I feel terrible. We're playing a guessing game today, folks. Will I have to run off? Will I have to run away from the microphone? That's the guessing game we're playing. But until then, and I'm going to tell you right now, I am a motivated man. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to run away. I'm going to stay right here with you, no matter what. So there you go. Welcome into the show. Yeah. How you doing? My name is Mark Farzy. This is the Farzy Show, and it's nice to have you along for the ride. Just like it's nice to have Michael Lorenzen along for the rest of the ride with the Philadelphia Phillies and his Phillies debut yesterday. I was thinking about it as he was going on, and when he came out for the 7th, and then when he came out for the 8th, I was frantically looking up numbers for the Phillies because I'm thinking about it. There's one start for whatever reason that really jumps out to me. Of an 8-inning performance by a Phillies starting pitcher this year. It was Aaron Nola. And I was trying to think who else made it, like logged 8 innings, didn't pitch into the 8th inning, but finished. They got all 3 outs there in the 8th inning to officially log 8 innings of work. And Aaron Nola did it against the Houston the Houston team, the Astros there. Zach Wheeler did it against the Braves. Taijuan Walker did it against the A's. 3 times. They've all done it once. Michael Lorenzen in his first start, and those guys have all started 22 games. Michael Lorenzen has started 1 game as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies, and he logged 8 innings just like that. 101 pitches through his day yesterday, picking up the victory over the Miami Marlins. So before we go any further, let's just start it off with a look at the wild card standings. The San Francisco Giants just really like winning baseball games. What the hell, man? They're 2.5 games up in the first wild card spot. Phillies are a game behind them, or excuse me, a game and a half behind them. They're a game up now on the Cincinnati Reds. The Marlins are a half game out of wild card contention and a game and a half behind the Philadelphia Phillies. This is a beautiful thing. Diamondbacks game and a half out. Cubs 2 out. Padres 4 games out. Oh my God! No, New York. Look at the New York Mets down there. Oh my God, that's a real far away. Oh, that's a real long way down there. Oh, they must suck at baseball. So yeah, the Phillies are in the number 2 spot right now, heading into this 3-game series with the Kansas City Royals. We're going to talk about the Phillies game yesterday. Michael Lorenzen, what really stuck out to me about his start. One of the things he said after the game that I thoroughly enjoyed. We're also going to get into the conversation to Trey Turner coming to Philadelphia and what's going to go down there. A lot of people are upset with Trey Turner, and rightfully so. So we'll have that conversation. Philadelphia Eagles at training camp. They got their open practice on Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field. If you guys want to go down there, make sure you check out PhiladelphiaEagles.com and see how you can get into the building. It'll be the day after Jalen Hurts' birthday, I believe. Last year, I know everyone was singing happy birthday to him, which was a pretty cool scene. We'll get into Nick Sirianni's comments yesterday because a couple of things jump out to me, and we'll also get to Jalen Hurts' comments yesterday. There's a word that I would not use to describe any of Nick Sirianni's training camps. Now, we learned last year that it doesn't matter. Last year was a really interesting week 1. Last year was actually just a really interesting season in general. You had this look in to the Detroit Lions training camp with Hard Knocks. and you had this look into Dan Campbell and how he runs things. And you already knew the personality of Dan Campbell. You already heard him talk about it when he was in Miami as an interim coach. He went from strength and conditioning coach to like head football coach, like interim head football coach, right? He went into that locker room and he was telling everybody, I would bleed for you guys. I was like, that's pretty intense, but who wouldn't want to play for that guy? And then he gets the main gig in Detroit. He's talking about biting kneecaps. He's hinting at illegal substances he puts in his coffee. You're like, what the hell is with this guy? And then you watch him in Hard Knocks. You're like, that guy is intense. That guy is crazy. That guy is nuts. And then you watch Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni is like, I love you. You're awesome. It's a totally different end of the spectrum. And it's like, by the way, we're not even going to practice hard today. Just everyone, just everyone knows how to put your pads on, right? Okay, so we're not going to put our pads on today. Everyone's already learned how to put pads on. Look at the time. After I said that, the day off, everyone had to take the rest of the day off. I got you guys all spa gift cards. Yay! And he's doling out spa gift cards. That's a slight exaggeration. What I'm saying is the Detroit Lions had a really rough training camp. Really tough training camp, the kind of training camp that makes I hate the phrase old school, because like Charlie Manuel said, it's not old school, it's good school. So the good school people for the most part would be like, oh yeah, be tough on these football players. Yeah, you got to be tough. And then the other people will look at Nick Sirianni's patty cake training camp sessions and be like, how are they going to win anything? So they have a light training camp, and then they go to the Super Bowl. They bear 8 Pro Bowlers, 11 Pro Bowler considerations, whatever, and then they do the same thing in this year, but doing less this year. So last year was a really interesting thing between the really tough training camp and then the really light training camp, and now they're doing less. So the word that got used yesterday, and I don't use this word to describe the Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Sirianni, urgency. And it got used yesterday, and Jalen Hurts talked about installing urgency and the veterans installing urgency. It's a weird thing. Whenever we talk about urgency, it's usually in the sense of this team has no sense of urgency. It's like that, where they're not taking anything serious. They don't understand what's on the line. Like we talk about it in every single sport. You know what the problem is? There's just no urgency with this team. Nobody gets it. I don't worry about that. Like it hasn't even like entered my brain to talk about a sense of urgency with the Philadelphia Eagles in training camp. Like I feel like they have a great understanding. I don't think they need that speech of urgency. Maybe some of the younger guys need the lead by example type of veteran leadership, whether that's Jason Kelce, whether that's Brandon Graham, whether that's Fletcher Cox, whoever it might be, Lane Johnson, the core 4 as they become known, right? Maybe those guys need just to watch the veterans, but I don't worry about urgency. I just think there's a way the Eagles, with Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, like to do things, and that's how things are done. You don't need urgency if you're already in a state of taking everything around you serious and thinking to yourself that everything you're doing in practice, everything you're doing at the NovaCare complex, everything you're doing in the film room and the weight room, it really matters. And I don't think this team needs that urgency speech. There's a sense of urgency. Oh, this guy at camp who's fighting for a 3rd roster spot, 4th roster spot. Those guys, they don't sense of urgency. If you don't have that, you're in the wrong business. But I heard the question yesterday, and it dawned on me. I have no concerns when it comes to urgency with this team. I do have concerns involving the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not like everything's all puppy dogs and ice cream over there, or in this case, Rita's water ice there. But when I look at this Philadelphia Eagles team, I don't have that concern. And when Jalen Hurts got posed that question yesterday, he said, oh, yeah, it's up to us to install that sense of urgency. And I'm like, I think you guys are good. Like, not that I want them to, like, lollygag around and, like, play grab ass all the live long day. I'm not looking for that at all. I want them to be taking their craft seriously, but I think there's a difference between taking what you do seriously, and then be like, all right, everybody, we really got to focus here. I don't think they need that pep talk of we really got to focus. And I feel like that is a blessed thing. I feel like that's a beautiful thing to have in Philadelphia, to look at your football team and say, oh, no, I don't have to. Like, as the season plays out, yeah, of course, I'm sure there'll be moments of, there'll be lulls, right? There'll be the ebbs and flows, and we'll lose our minds at certain times and all that stuff. And maybe that'll enter the fray. But as far as preparing for the season, like they're doing right now, I think they're good. I mean, if you do go into camp last year with a very simple plan and a very light schedule, yeah, it's going to lead to question as to, are they ready to play this season? And we're going to bitch and moan about tackling, but I feel like you can do that on just about every team. Just about every team. Oh, can this team tackle? They don't practice tackling enough. That's why they can't tackle. Hey, man, when you have a light schedule and you make it to a Super Bowl and your quarterback's an MVP caliber player, he's a second-team All-Pro, you can feel pretty confident in a light schedule the following year. Last year, I understand the questions. This year, I think they got it. It's you know what it is? It's similar to the conversation we were having last year about how usually when you say, well, what's this team's identity? It's usually, oh, they run the ball really well, or they got a great defense, or their passing game is incredible, or they're methodical in their game planning. You know, that's like the identity, right? Always being prepared or something. The Eagles don't have one true identity. Like, there's not one thing you put your finger on and go, oh, well, that right there. They are so unbelievably versatile. Where you're like, okay, what's their identity? Jalen Hurts said it earlier in training camp last week, as a matter of fact. Win. That's our identity. And that's the only thing that matters. Just win. What do we get? Whatever it takes to win. Be like a chameleon. Whatever it takes to win. That is our identity. I'd rather have a team like that than a team that's just like, oh, yeah, we're just going to run it down their throats. No? Or, well, we're just going to be able to air it out. No. And you know what? Jalen Hurts personally yesterday was asked about the uniqueness to his game and the versatility and the athleticism to his game. We'll let you hear what Jalen Hurts had to say about that. Actually, John McMullen was the one that asked the question of Birds 365. Very interesting answer from Jalen Hurts. Nick Sirianni, a couple other things we're going to get into today. Kayvon Wallace getting number one reps with the safeties. That is a sentence I did not think would flutter out of my mouth going into training camp, and here I am. This fifth practice, excuse me. Kayvon Wallace getting reps with the ones. So we'll talk about that. He also talked about DeAndre Swift yesterday. Some interesting things about DeAndre Swift and what has stuck out to him about Jalen Hurts so far at training camp. We'll get into all that from yesterday and more. One more thing. I talked about the quote from Hassan Reddick, and I forget who it was in the comments, but thank you for pointing this out. I didn't bring it up to say that Hassan Reddick was complaining about his contract. I said that he said all the right things. And I thought the clip that I heard was Jeff McClain asking him about the salary and, you know, kind of putting the quarter in the machine of, well, here's an opportunity to bitch about your salary, and whatever you say, we'll scrutinize. You know, Jeff didn't say that, and I think Jeff's a great reporter. I think he does a phenomenal job, and I think he actually did the right thing because I got the full context of it here. Hassan Reddick mentioned his money first. Once you mention money, and he didn't do it like in a complaining fashion, he just kind of referenced it. And Jeff McClain then followed up and said, well, do you think you're underpaid? And that's where Hassan Reddick gave, I thought, the most perfect answer you could give, where you could acknowledge a little bit of like, yeah, okay, look around the league. Look what I'm doing. Look at what some other people, look what they're getting paid. Look what I'm getting paid. But he said all the right things as far as to hell with money. To hell with money. I want to go have a Hall of Fame career. I want to leave a legacy. You don't hear that anymore. Everything else will take care of itself. You don't hear that anymore. And look, I know a lot of people get up in arms when they talk when football players talk about money, and I know not that we give a damn about it, but Zach Martin in Dallas bitching about his money. I don't fault anybody when they start talking about money. Oh, you signed the contract. Yeah. So did the team, and the team could just release me at any moment, especially right before I'm due a huge, a pay increase. So I don't mind it. Now, the give and take of that in the NFL is that you want that guaranteed money. And what's amazing to me is I remember I was pretty tight with Sheldon Brown at the time that he was going through his contract negotiation back in like 2008. I want to say it was 2009. And I remember talking to him about that whole process and how I remember him telling me about other guys around the league that feel very similar to the way he does, that when you're getting money up front, it's great. Obviously, they dangle that carrot in front of you because they know the rules, and you know the rules too. You can take this $10 million guaranteed right here. I'm just using $10 million as an example. Or, you play 2 years and you really play great, and then maybe you'll make $50 million. You know what I mean? And a lot of the young guys, they sign that. And good on them. But then later they end up outperforming the contract. I think a lot of things need to be left up to negotiation, and a lot of times Howie Roseman has done a great job of reworking contracts before it's too late. Now, often it's to overall benefit the team. Lane Johnson's contract, you rework that a little bit, all of a sudden you're able to afford 4 running backs. Like the way you're able to move the money around. That's why whenever people talk about, well, you can't do it because of the cap. It's like, really, do you really want to get into the complexities of the cap? Because it's definitely possible to maneuver money. You never know where the next move is coming with Howie Roseman. And I'm just talking about in terms of cap and cap flexibility. So when it comes to Hassan Reddick and he talks about his money, I'm fine with it. If he mentions it and then gets a follow-up question about it, I'm fine with it, especially when it's as beautiful an answer as he gave about legacy, helping the young guys on this team, and being the best version of himself so that the defense can be the best version of itself for the 2023 season. So I just wanted to point all of that out as well with the Hassan Reddick comments from the other day. Nick Sirianni was asked about it at his press conference yesterday, whether or not there was an issue. And I don't know if he caught our old friend Howard Eskin off guard or not, but it seemed like Howard was saying something to him just as he was sitting down at the podium. And Nick Sirianni said, "You got a question? Howard, you want to start it off? You got a question?" And I don't know if Howard was caught off guard by it, but he just said, "What are you doing with Hassan Reddick in that situation, about his contract?" And Nick's like, "I don't think there is a situation with his contract." So that was I think, a great way to handle it for the Eagles head coach. So we'll dissect that from Jalen Hurts' consistency, DeAndre Swift's ability. We'll also get into that sense of urgency that I mentioned earlier, as well as Jalen Hurts and his abilities behind the line of scrimmage. We'll get into all that conversation and more on today's program. But let's start it off. 15 minutes into the show. Let's start it off. Let's start it off by talking about Michael Lorenzen yesterday. Folks, he was a sight for sore eyes. Michael Lorenzen has been a Philly for one game. All right. Pitched one game. He's been a Philly for 2, technically. He's already come up in the clutch. The Phillies had a 12-inning game where they were burning through arms left and right. They had a bullpen that looked like it was absolutely cooked in the extra innings of that game. I mentioned it multiple times yesterday. 8 hits, 4 walks. You can't have that. That is terrible. And Michael Lorenzen trots into town, gets on the mound, and he throws 8 masterful innings. Beautiful innings. And I'm watching him, and with some of the life he had on his pitches, whether it was his fastball or his slider, and at one point he threw a great changeup, threw a couple of great changeups yesterday, but if I was to pick out one thing about what he was doing yesterday, it was that slider was so deceptive. So incredibly deceptive. He threw one really bad slider. It was to Sanchez. And after the game, when he was talking about his start and how good the start was and all that stuff, what he liked about his start, he said, "Oh, yeah, I threw that one to Sanchez, and I kind of hung it up there. I threw it like middle of the plate like an idiot." And then he put it in the left field. And I was just laughing at that. He said, "I put it there like an idiot." And I'm like, this guy's going to fit in just fine here. But yesterday on the mound, he gave a performance that the Philadelphia Phillies absolutely needed. If you were going to trade for one thing after that Phillies 12-inning affair that they lose to the Marlins in Game 3 of the 4-game series, if you were going to trade for one thing, it would be a starting pitcher that could go, at least 7 innings. And he gave you 8 because you needed to give the bullpen a break. Sir Anthony Dominguez came in, had a very easy save there in the 9th inning, and you ended up taking 3 of 4 from Miami before coming back to Philadelphia to take on the lowly Kansas City Royals. Now, here's the deal. They took on the lowly Pittsburgh Pirates right before they had a fire sale, and they lost 2 of 3 in that series. So don't do the thing. Don't do the thing, Phillies, that drives everybody crazy. Don't do the thing where you're a better baseball team, a much better baseball team. You're a much better team than the team coming to town to face you, and then or you're facing them, you're going to visit them and face them in their town. Don't do the thing where you play down to your opponent. Use this as an opportunity to separate yourself from the rest of the pack in the wild card standings. Use this time. Use this opportunity to do that. Don't play down to the Royals. Rob Thompson, please have their heads in the right spot. Aaron Nola, get this team started off on the right foot, please. And Michael Lorenzen, thank you. Thank you for giving the vast majority of that bullpen, with the exception of Sir Anthony Dominguez, the day off yesterday. because they certainly needed it. Yeah, the slider was working great. The changeup was working great. The fastball had great location. And, man, he was mowing through innings. What was it, the fourth inning? He had a 20-pitch inning, and that was it. That was the highest he went in an inning. He was very efficient yesterday. The defense was there to back him up as well. It was fantastic. A couple of good plays by Alec Boehm there at third base. Boehmer just – I can't believe his third base, his defensive skills is how I'll say it. I can't believe his defensive skills have not been an issue this year, like at all. The long windup that he would have for being like a lanky, 6'4", 6'5" guy, is non-existent. That was something that I remember watching him last year and just be like, he's got to really work on his transfer and his delivery and all that stuff. And this year it just looks so clean. The one play he had, I think it was 2 days ago in the game, it was just a slow hit ground ball to him, and I don't think it was necessarily on his windup. He might have had trouble getting it out of his mitt, so I don't think that had to do with his windup or release, but more so the transfer. But for the most part this season, he has been absolutely fantastic. I talked about the diving stop he made in game 2, I want to say, where he was just all over the place. In terms of being able to make stops and help out his pitching staff. So defensively, he has been great as well. But back to Michael Lorenzen. One of the things that I really liked in yesterday's game was that he came in, he talked to guys on the pitching staff, he talked to other guys around the league, other guys that he's played with when he first got traded to the Phillies, when we just got the news, started talking to players. And he was all like, hey, JT Realmuto, tell me about JT Realmuto. And everyone said, oh, yeah, he's got you. You can let him call the game for you, and you won't have to worry about a damn thing except just hitting your spots, throwing to his mitt, and making your pitches. So yesterday after the game, it came out that he let JT Realmuto just call the whole game. Now, he likes doing that anyway, Michael Lorenzen, but this is the first time you're being caught by a different catcher that has the reputation of being the best in baseball. And he still did his homework. He still did his research. He said, is this the guy that's going to call the game for me? And everyone said, yeah. Trust him. So he didn't call a single pitch on his own. He just listened to JT, and JT helped guide him through a great performance. 8 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, and it was 6 strikeouts. The 6 strikeouts thing jumps out to me yesterday because if you were watching some of his sliders, for instance, yesterday, I mean, I think the guy could have had easily 10 strikeouts. The way he had that thing working for him yesterday. It was fantastic. So welcome to the party, Michael Lorenzen. Interesting story about Trey Turner. Trey Turner was in the batting cages until midnight after last night's game. He stood in his locker. He took every question, and I applauded him for it yesterday. I'll still applaud him today. Still had a rough day today, 0 for 3. Made one play defensively where he tripped over the mound, but still made the play. I've said it multiple times. Whether you want to call it quicksand, you want to call it just being overall lost. The only way he's going to find his way back is if he just puts his head down and runs. That's the only way. If the Phillies are going to bench him, which obviously he was in the lineup again yesterday, doesn't look like they're going to do that. I still think he's hurting the team more than he's helping the team. But even in that situation, if they do decide, look, this just ain't your year, man. We're not going to shut you down by any means, but you're going to be on the bench, and when we need you, we're going to break the glass and break the glass for a pinch runner, or maybe we like a particular matchup here on the schedule that we think you can help this ball club to get that start then, But as far as an everyday player, he's just not an everyday player. Now, maybe he does find his way out of it. I'd love to see him find his way out of it. But if he needs the batting cage like Nick Castellanos needed the batting cage to just gain some confidence, get that solid contact back, then by all means, just do it. I'm rooting for it. I'm not rooting for the Phillies to bench the guy. I'm rooting for Trey Turner to have production to help this team win ball games, especially down the stretch, especially in late September. We're going to be seeing your divisional opponents again, some of whom you haven't really done great against this season. Even the Mets, who have just had their own fire sale. But when I look at this Phillies team, I don't see a World Series contender right now, and I know that's not necessarily a hot take, okay? But if Trey Turner starts cooking, and turns it around, and you get that 6 days rest in between starts for these starting pitchers, and that ends up really benefiting them with Michael Lorenzen being here, then yeah, maybe you start seeing better production, more consistency from Aaron Nola. Then all of a sudden, Zach Wheeler, who looks like he has really figured it out in his last 3 starts. Ranger Suarez builds off his last start. Same thing with Taijuan Walker. This team gets that good pitching. Oh, yeah, we can start talking about the World Series again. Not just a team that's going to sneak into the playoffs, even though they did that last year and they made it to the World Series. But you get that starting pitcher figured out, starting pitching figured out, and then you get Trey Turner cooking again. Yeah, okay. I just don't see it. I think when a guy's lost, I just think he's lost. I'd love to see him break out of it. I just don't know how he does it with the Phillies maintaining the idea that you just got to keep playing him. They've done it for 4 months. It hasn't worked. Again, just give me June. Just give me June to Trey Turner. But yeah, he was in the cages till midnight the night before after he said he cost the Phillies the game. And came out yesterday and still took the offer. So that's not exactly a great sign, unfortunately. There was one more thing from yesterday's game I wanted to get into. Oh, JT Realmuto, yes, not just being behind the plate, but back in the lineup. 2-run home run for JT Realmuto, getting the Phillies on the board. Also, he had another hit later in the ball game, so he 2 for 4. One thing I really love about the end of Marlins series, when you're done with the Marlins, is you don't have to face Chisholm for a while. I really don't like him. I don't like him even a little. He is this will show you my hockey fandom. He is a Matthew Barnaby. You got that? Is it settled in for anyone that's a hockey fan? He is a needle in the side rat. He is annoying as hell. I can't stand him. And when the Phillies have done their series with the Marlins, I just rejoice that I don't have to see him for a while. But anyway, yeah, he had a 2-run double yesterday. Or excuse me, a RBI double to left field against Michael Lorenzen. How about Brandon Marsh coming up with another big hit as well? Bases loaded, single, scored 2 runs to give you a 4-1 lead at that point in the game in the 7th inning. So that was nice to see for the Phillies. Absolutely love seeing that. Yeah, that's what I got for you on that. On the Phillies game yesterday. Yeah, the Sanchez though. Oh yeah, this was interesting. Credit to Rob Thompson. Now maybe Rob Thompson's hands were just tied, but let's go to that 7th inning real quick with Michael Lorenzen out there. So Phillies give him the 4-1 lead after the top of the 7th. Bottom of the 7th inning, Chisholm comes out. He flies out to left field. Berger comes out and he strikes out looking on a 3-2 sinker away. The sinker away also was a great pitch working for Lorenzen yesterday. Then De La Cruz comes up and he hits the home run to center field. Fastball, middle of the plate, boom, 428 feet to center field. Then Sanchez comes up, and this is where he hung the slider, quote, like an idiot. Sanchez comes up, hits a double to left center field. It bounces off the fence. Well, it bounces off the fence. It stuck to the fence, basically, and then just dropped. So he ended up getting a double out of it. Could almost got a triple out of it. If that's like an extra second, he would have got a triple out of it, but he holds him to a double. And then Wendell comes out there, and he gets the ground out. Lorenzen gets him the ground out to second base. So he's out of that inning. I thought at that point with the home run and the double, which was also tattooed, that they were going to say, you know what, that's it. Thank you, Michael Lorenzen. Have a seat. Most of his, I think he only has 1 start this season. Maybe coming into the Phillies, I think he only had 1 start where he had 100 pitches, maybe 2. Maybe 2 starts where he had 100 pitches. So it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for them to pull him at like 88 pitches, 90 pitches, right? Similar to Christopher Sanchez, where a lot of guys, the Detroit Tigers with Michael Lorenzen had kind of like a hard line with him. Like, we don't want him really going above 90 pitches. But they let him go. So he comes out after the 7th inning, comes out for the 8th inning. Michael Lorenzen said, yeah, they talked. And he said, yeah, he was good to go. And they just let him go out there and do his thing. And then he cruises through that 8th inning yesterday. It's exactly what the doctor ordered for the Philadelphia Phillies. Absolutely love it. Love that he trusted his catcher. And I love that Rob Thompson trusted him to go out there for the 8th inning. And boy, did the Phillies need it. They absolutely needed it. So now you got this series with the Kansas City Royals. They'll be in South Philadelphia tonight. Look forward to that. Aaron Nola will get the start. He's coming into this ball game 9-7 with a 4.43 ERA and coming off a rough outing after 2 good starts that he put back to back for the first time all season. He comes out tonight, and it's after his 9-hit, 5 earned run, 7-run performance in 4 2/3 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. So yes, yet another opportunity for Aaron Nola to try and bounce back in this one. Friday night game in South Philly against the Royals, 7:05 start time. Jordan Lyles to start. Jordan Lyles 2-12 on the season with a 6.15 ERA. That's where we're at right there. He's coming off a start against the Twins. 5 innings, 3 earned runs, issuing 2 walks in a win over the Minnesota Twins. Before that, he got shelled 5 runs in 5 innings on 9 hits and 2 homers against the Yankees. So there is that for Jordan Lyles, right-handed pitcher, veteran for the Kansas City Royals. Let's get into the Philadelphia Eagles, ladies and gentlemen. A couple interesting things. I gave you my spiel on urgency and how I don't think that's a huge deal. He was asked about the lock screen getting out there. I think it was ESPN. I think it was Ellen Parks asked the question, and it was one of those things that Jalen Hurts did not want to get into. When he was asked about it, he goes, "Yeah, I don't really have much to say about that. I wish it wasn't out there." Violation of privacy. Violation of privacy. Taking a picture with somebody's phone out like that, you can see the lock screen. It goes out. Hey, I know it's the news story. I know everyone wants to talk about, how motivated he is by the Super Bowl, and I love that he's motivated by a Super Bowl loss. He's letting that stick with him, and I think there's a lot of healthiness in that. Oh, no, it was last year. It was last year. Oh, no. Last year is last year, but last year you got really close to that thing that everybody wants. And last year you got pretty close to planning a day for everyone in the city of Philadelphia. A little thing called a parade. So that's interesting. So he didn't like the lock screen business. The word urgency is something that he said he needs to improve, or he needs to instill, him and the veterans. And then he talked about his versatility. John McMullen, Jacob Media, asked him the question about his ability and how he takes it seriously, his athletic ability, and how he harnesses that and uses that to help his team win. And Jalen Hurts even said last week after practice that he embraces the uniqueness of his game, which I think was a beautiful way to put it. Well, this uniqueness is becoming less. Now, I'm not talking about Jalen Hurts specifically because he is a very unique player, but the style in which he plays has become a little less unique in terms of having athletic quarterbacks that can not only run the football, but also throw the football very well. That's becoming more of a standard, or at least be mobile, extremely mobile behind the line of scrimmage. Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to run for a lot of yards, but he's going to be extremely mobile behind the pocket or behind the line of scrimmage. He's going to manipulate the pocket, and he's going to do that to make plays. That's becoming more of the standard. There are less, Matthew Staffords in the world, and a lot more Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes. There's a lot less of the pocket passers, a lot less of like Brian Leftwich was a pocket passer, just staying back there. But these guys that are coming out now are extremely athletic quarterbacks. And that used to be a knock on a quarterback to say the word athletic. Oh, athletic quarterbacks can't win. Patrick Mahomes is a pretty damn good athlete, and he's winning a lot. But here's Jalen Hurts yesterday talking about how he's embracing his athleticism to help the team and the journey along the way.
Twofold, I think, for a long time. The world told guys like me that they couldn't process and they couldn't have that approach to the game and, have the fundamental and mental awareness to, execute and play the position at a high level. And so, I just try and challenge myself and stretch myself out in all three areas of my game, and the mental and the IQ approach and the physical approach and throwing the ball and obviously running the ball being the third one.
The third is running the ball. One thing that we don't talk about enough with Jalen Hurts, we talk about work ethic. And when you say work ethic, people think about the weight room and they think about the football field itself, the practice field there at the NovaCare complex. That's what they think of when they think of work ethic. But rarely do people talk about the studying. And one of the things that I really liked about that quarterback show on Netflix is they do a whole episode basically on the studying of the studying a quarterback has to do to get ready for each week. And I'll be honest with you, in my very limited experience of actually playing the sport of football in high school, played freshman year at Wood, right? before they started being really good at football. I was playing, and I remember my cousin was a quarterback, and my older cousin, and he would tell me about the playbook and all that, and my head would be spinning. And then finally, I actually played, and it's one of the things that really jumped out to me about things you don't think about. The two things I don't think about, or I didn't think about before playing, was the playbook, and then the other thing I didn't think about was how hard it is to catch with pads on versus not having pads on. Like, that's a whole other animal you have to get used to. It's just two things that jumped out at me about. And I'm so glad I had that experience. Just, put the pads on for, at least a year and just play the sport. But quarterbacks in the NFL are like, they're master classes in what in the film studies they have to do, the tendencies they have to understand, the manipulation they have to have, the ability to manipulate what they have to have when they see a certain coverage, break it down and make your check at the line of scrimmage, make your change at the line of scrimmage. It's on another level, man. And quarterbacks don't get enough credit for that. Jalen Hurts doesn't get enough credit for that, for the studying. One thing that did come out yesterday about that was Nick Sirianni talking about how much the quarterback room is having deeper and deeper conversations about the playbook, about style of play, about opponents, about everything you would want them talking about in the quarterback room. And the level of understanding that Jalen Hurts has of what the Eagles are trying to do and what Nick Sirianni is trying to do with his game plan and his playbook. Jalen Hurts is studying for, whatever you want to call it. He's studying for the SAT every week. He is studying for his final exams in college every week. That's how he treats it. And for him to have that approach to the game is something that, when you talked about athletic quarterbacks, oh, no, this guy, he just wants to run around and, not make the smart play, but make the great play or make the cool play, whatever. It's a totally different thing when you're talking about these guys now. That's what every team is craving. That's the way you have to play now. And him talking about the athleticism, like it's a footnote, is a beautiful thing now. And the running ability as third on the list. I think the guy is just off the charts. I remember, no, his body didn't last, but like RG3 threw, I think, only 7 picks his rookie year in Washington. And I remember thinking, I know it's read option, and that really helps. It helped a guy like Nick Foles be able to break down coverages easier behind the line of scrimmage, and it makes quarterbacks, be able to read one side of the field as opposed to both sides of the field. It makes things a lot easier. But RG3 was great at making that decision, the mental aspect of the game. Now you're looking at a guy like Jalen Hurts, who is doing that same type of thing, but on a whole other level. He's able to use the RPO to help break down one side of the line of scrimmage. He's able to use his athletic ability to be able to escape pressure or just, keep that ball at the mesh point and run it for 5, 10 yards, whatever it might be, getting yourself a couple of more yards on that offense. And then he's able to just look at the defense and what they're giving him, and he takes it. That's called breaking down a defense. That's called reading a defense. That's the thing. At this time last year, we were questioning whether or not he could actually do. And boy, did he show that he could. So talking about the mental aspect of that game, of his game, the guy continues to go on another level. And hearing Nick Sirianni talk about the deep conversations in the quarterback room, hearing Nick Sirianni talk about the consistency Jalen Hurts has, hearing Nick Sirianni talk about the understanding Jalen Hurts has of the playbook and what they're doing, makes me feel a hell of a lot more comfortable hearing those things about a quarterback than you could hear anything else. So absolutely loved hearing that yesterday. Nick Sirianni yesterday also got into Kayvon Wallace getting those first team reps, as I mentioned, and also DeAndre Swift. I think this is him talking about what has stuck out to him about Jalen Hurts so far this year.
He's a playmaker. Sorry, Zach.
What's Jalen done this past week that has particularly stood out to you?
Oh, I just think his consistency is showing. Again, you're going to make splash plays in camp. You're going to make some plays that you want back in camp, and it's all part of the process of getting better every day, learning from your mistakes, and also getting better from the things that you've done well. But I just see his consistency over and over again. I'm sure he's made some big time plays that you guys have seen. That throw to AJ on the vertical route was awesome. It's just really been his consistency. I think he's operating at a very high level as far as within the offense, just understanding even more so why we do things, how we do things, and he's really like a coach on the field with those things like that. I think our
Right there is where I want to stop it, because the coach on the field thing is so interesting to me for a number of reasons. The coach on the field means he's got it. And I know you might say, oh, it's third year as a starter. You know, he should get it. But when players talk about second nature, coaches talk about second nature. Yeah, we're going to do this now, and then it'll become second nature when we're out there. We've seen quarterbacks. Carson Wentz is a perfect example of this, man. Thinking too much. We've seen athletes. Nelson Aguilar is a perfect example of this. Thinking too much. If you're thinking, you already lost. In these sports, at this level of sport, if you're thinking, you've lost. Because that other person, there's no thought, there's the reaction. It's become almost muscle memory. It's become the reflex. Here's the action, here's my reaction. It's not, here's the action, hold on, let me think about it for a second. Okay, now I'm reacting. No, you're already late. You're gone. The guy's gone. He's past you. The read's already been made. The ball's over your head. That's one thing we don't talk about enough in sports, with the action and reaction. It's not action. Okay, hold on. Let me process. Let me think. Let me really understand what's going on. Touchdown. That was my man. That guy was my guy. That guy was my guy. When I did play 1 year of football at Archbishop Wood, that was me. Oh, that was my guy? In the end zone with the ball? I was supposed to stop that? Anyway. But 2 touchdowns against LaSalle. I'll never forgive myself. Anyway, so listening to Nick Sirianni talk about that, he's talking about second nature. He's talking about the consistency is there because he understands everything that's going on around him. And every football player, every athlete needs that kind of process where they have studied hard enough, they've worked hard enough, they have committed it to memory to the point of, oh yeah, it's no longer me being in a situation, having to figure it out, and then making a play. It's my reaction is the play. Without that process in between of, now let me just think about it for just 1 second. That's the second nature part of it. When athletes are talking about a playbook, their responsibilities in a play, or when a play goes awry, what the responsibilities are, the way they react to it is instinctual at that point. And that's the point Jalen Hurts is at as a quarterback. I think I speak for everyone when I say, can the season just start? Can we just start the season already? So that was Nick Sirianni talking about his quarterback. The other thing that I really liked yesterday. Now, every single year this happens. Every single year, and I'm not going to fall for it again. The screen game. So we have this, the Kelly Green, okay? When people look at the Kelly Green, they think of Reggie White, and they think of Jerome Brown, right? And they think of Clyde Simmons, and they think of Eric Allen, they think of Seth Joyner, right? They think of all that. They think of that defense, man, and how dominant that defense was. The gang green defense. Think about Bounty Bowl. Think about all that stuff. They think about all that. The body bag game. All that fun stuff, right? When I think of the screen, I think of Brian Westbrook. I think of LaShawn McCoy. I think of Jason Kelsey in his early days, really getting out there in the line of scrimmage. Like, how is the center 10 yards in front of the running back? How did that happen? Making blocks downfield like that. Jason Peters getting off the line of scrimmage. I think about stuff like that. There's a nostalgia to it. So people love talking about that screen game because, man, it's a little loft of a pass that could go 60 yards for a touchdown. Darren Sproles, not just screens, but also the wheel route, ran it better than anybody. DeAndre Swift being here and them bringing him here, aggressively bringing him here to Philadelphia makes me think that they're actually going to not just incorporate the screen game again. Now, last year we talked about it with Miles Sanders, we talked about it with Kenny Gainwell. Year before that, we talked about it with the same guys, really didn't see it ever. But now they went on, they got DeAndre Swift. That makes me think they're not only going to just throw their running backs, and that's going to be a new development in Jalen Hurts' game, but it makes me feel like it's going to be a big part of the game in throwing to running backs and that the screen will come back. Yesterday, I really found this to be interesting here. Nick Sirianni, when he was addressing the media, he was asked about what stuck out to you about DeAndre Swift. And he said something that I didn't realize this is the way they termed it, but it makes sense. I think this one is it on DeAndre Swift.
He's a playmaker. You know, he's a playmaker, very serious. Comes to work every day looking to get better. But I think that's the best way to explain him, that he's a playmaker, and you see it on practice that he can create mismatches, that when you get him the football, you know, he can catch the football and make plays with it, and also in the backfield. It's different catching the ball on the outside than it is coming out of the backfield. You know, it's sometimes you look at backs, and when you look and evaluate backs coming out of college, and I'm speaking of the pass game right now, we say to ourselves, does he have running back hands or does he have receiver hands? Because it's different. Like, catching the ball on the perimeter is a different feel than it is when you're catching it coming out of the backfield.
I never heard it termed like that. It makes sense. It's really simple. Like, can you make every catch, or can you only make like one catch? Like, wide receiver hands, okay? That you can make every catch. One catch is running back hands, and that's the way he's talking about it, because it really is. The ball's coming a lot different as a running back. It's coming more similar if you're a wide receiver and if they can use you in wide receiver situations. So one of the things that Nick Sirianni went on to say was you can line up DeAndre Swift at different spots. I know Ruben Frank was on the show last week, and he talked about how DeAndre Swift is the best receiving running back the Eagles have had probably since Shady. Obviously, Darren Sproles is in there. He's in that conversation. But somebody also said Corey Clement, and I like Corey Clement a lot, but it was 1 year. The thing with Darren Sproles is he was, 35? And we're talking about, a 24-year-old running back, 23-year-old running back? So there's a little bit of a difference there. He definitely has potential to be better than Sproles in terms of, at the time the Eagles got him. Sproles still caught 65 passes 1 year. But I think they're going to use DeAndre Swift the same way Doug Peterson used Darren Sproles. I think you're going to see him in the backfield. I think you're going to see him in the slot. You could even see him on the outside. I think DeAndre Swift, we talk about versatility in the offense. And I've talked about how there's no one true identity with the Eagles where you just say that one thing is what they do so well. No, they know what they do, they win. That's their identity. But I think DeAndre Swift, after Jalen Hurts, for everyone not named Jalen Hurts, I think DeAndre Swift is going to be the most versatile player on this offense. The most versatile player. And I'm including that with Dallas Goedert and his pass catching ability and his run blocking ability and pass blocking ability as well. But the most versatile player on this offense is going to be DeAndre Swift. After listening to Nick Sirianni yesterday, that's what got the wheels turning. And I'm like, it's not just going to be screens. It's not just going to be wheel routes. You're going to see him lined up as a receiver. You're going to be seeing him lined up as a wide receiver. You're going to be seeing him lined up as a slot receiver. If he can make catches like that, if he really does have wide receiver hands, the Eagles are going to have a field day with how they could use what's going to be their Swiss Army knife. And I know Kenny Gainwell, I think he's going to be very similar. I think they're going to use him in a similar way. I don't think you're going to see him lined up as a wide receiver or a slot, whatever it might be. I think you're going to see him coming out of the backfield. Rarely, I think you'll see him lined up on the line of scrimmage there. Or just off the line of scrimmage. But one of the things I really look forward to seeing is how they're going to deploy DeAndre Swift this season. Very excited for that. Look forward to it. The Kayvon Wallace thing is just fascinating to me, and how they're going to use him. Oh, and yes, he goes on to say that DeAndre Swift does have wide receiver hands. So let me put a bow on that one. One more thing from Jalen Hurts' notes yesterday. Back to that quarterback room. I forgot Joe Flacco ever played for the Philadelphia Eagles. But one of the things that Jalen Hurts got into was the quarterback room and how great the quarterback room is, how everybody is learning from everybody. And he really likes drawing on Marcus Mariota, and he referenced his Heisman Trophy. Marcus, we got a Heisman Trophy winner in the – I just love how enamored he is with college stuff. And I love it. There's a sweetness to that. There's a beauty to that. You know, this guy's a Heisman Trophy winner. And it's like, yeah, you're a runner-up to the MVP in the NFL. Like, what are you talking about a Heisman Trophy for? But the fact that if you're Marcus Mariota, you would love that. That this franchise quarterback, this guy who was, for 20 minutes, the highest-paid quarterback in the league, is looking at you like, man, you got a Heisman? That's so cool. Like, oh, man, thanks. Like, that's the respect factor that's there. It's pretty wild. But he talked about how he's learning from Marcus Mariota, and everyone learns from each other in that quarterback room. And they got guys from so many different backgrounds that they just learn so much. And Jalen Hurts, even at the level that he's at now, is still a guy that is just a sponge, looking to absorb every ounce of knowledge that he can. He's looking to learn from other people's experiences. It takes a humble man to do that. And I think we have a humble man at quarterback that is going to do everything he can to bring us a Super Bowl championship. Let me get to the chat check and see how you beautiful people are doing on this fine Friday morning. Jason A-Team. What's up, Jason A-Team? Lorenzen was incredible. Haven't seen a good pitcher like that all year. Yeah. Didn't realize how bulked up Lorenzen is. He just looks so legit. I couldn't believe he had 8 innings. Michael Lorenzen, when he was pitching for the Reds, I mentioned this the other day. I remember my thought of Michael Lorenzen is huge right arm. He's a right-handed pitcher, okay? Huge right arm, dinky little left arm. Huge right arm, dinky little left arm. And they're not proportionate. It's like one arm is Popeye and the other is olive oil. All right? Know what I'm saying? How's that for an old reference? It's bionic arm. And I couldn't put the name with the arm when the Phillies traded him. And then I was watching, I was like, Michael Lorenzen, let me look him up again. And I'm like, oh, this guy, that's right. It is. If you see him just walk with, he's wearing longer sleeves now. I don't know if that's because he's a starting pitcher now as opposed to the bullpen, but maybe he comes back up here and we'll get another hot day and he'll be in just the short sleeves. But you'll see it. If you've never noticed it, it is insane. His right arm looks like arm wrestling champion of the world. The left arm looks like checkmate. That's what it looks like. Casey's still doing that. Didn't you see the one play? He's like 20 yards downfield, almost running faster than Miles. Yeah, no, he is still doing that. He absolutely is. But in his heyday, they were doing it more often. That's the only reason I bring that up. But you're right, Jason. Let's get over to the Farzy Show page, see what you guys are up to. Sean Kilrain, April, Sean Gillespie. What's going on, guys? Sammy Chon. What's up, Sammy Chon? Long time no see, bud. What's going on? Sean Kilrain, Lorenzen was on point yesterday. Turner batting 8th. Thoughts on that? Yeah, I had a classic I don't believe you moment. So Rob Thompson put the lineup out. Rob Thompson addresses the media. They ask him about Trey Turner batting further down in the lineup at 8, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I just wanted to go with the lefty ready, lefty ready, lefty ready, lefty ready." And I was like, I don't believe you, Rob. I do not believe you. That's my thought on that. Sammy Chon, what's up? Yes, please smash the Royals. We would all love it. Mia Sanchez, welcome Michael Lorenzen. The lowly Royals just swept the Mets. Ha ha. 8-2 homestand for the Phillies is needed. Ring the bell. T-Bro, what's going on? Lorenzen won me over when he took his adrenaline dump, followed by a nap after he found out he got traded to the Titans. Sammy Chon, that slider was nasty. Oh, man. Hold on. I really want to go through this real quick. Beep, bop, 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 boop, bop, bop, beep. What do we got here? Oh, yeah. He struck out a rise on 4 pitches in the 6th inning. Fastball. He got him on a fastball. Then he got Soler on one of those sliders. And Soler swung through that ball, and he just was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm out. And the way he walked off was hilarious. But, yeah, that was one of the sliders that he got somebody on. Yeah, he didn't get his first strikeout until the 4th inning, I think it was. Another slider. He was at 32 pitches in the 4th inning. He started out the 4th inning on 32 pitches. That's incredible, by the way. Then he got Soler to strike out, swinging away at that slider. Then he walked Bell on a 3-2, missed his spot with a fastball inside. That's when Chisholm came up next, and he hit the 2-run double just off the fence and died in left center field. Then he got Berger to pop out to short. That's when Turner tripped over the mound. And then De La Cruz came up there, and he flew out to right field. 5th inning, Sanchez, he struck out. That was the nasty changeup he threw. He toyed with Sanchez on that one, got him to strike out, flailing at a changeup. Alvarez, he got on that 6th inning on the 4-pitch strikeout. Soler on another slider. And then, those were the most impressive things that I saw from Michael Lorenzen yesterday. Very impressive. Sean Kilroy, Lorenzen said he also has a sweeper pitch, which I heard is pretty good. The interesting thing, the sweeper and the curveball are very similar. And he said he got rid of the curveball. And there's one more pitch he said he got rid of. The cutter. It was the cutter. But it's nice to know if he ever wants it, it is in the back pocket. Trey needs an Uncle Charlie mentoring him. Yeah, get Charlie down here. Oh, man, I need to see Charlie Manuel in a room. You know what would make me feel better? Trey Turner in a room with Charlie Manuel. I don't know. Yeah, call it nostalgia. Call whatever you want. Whatever K-Long's doing, it ain't working. So, yeah, maybe Charlie gets in the room with that's what they need to do. That's what I want to see. I want to see at the cage in batting practice when they're showing, B-roll of batting practice. I want to see Charlie Manuel in a Phillies windbreaker, little red Phillies pinstripes, and a Phillies baseball cap, just like with his arm around Trey Turner. We'll talk about hitting. You know what I mean? I want to see that. The DVD. Wait, Trey needs some Uncle Charlie mentoring him. That's funny. Yes. Yeah. Pedro Serrano for Major League. Very bad to steal Joe Boo's rum. Very bad. Sean Kilray, nice. Any Major League references are always welcome here on the show. Sean Gillespie, that RG3 first year had Washington fans so happy. I was watching it and I was like, damn. The Washington football team is pretty dumb for drafting 2 quarterbacks in the first 4 rounds, which is also talked about on that quarterback show. But I remember being in Washington and hearing from someone who had just had a conversation with that fella, Mike Shanahan, that he thought Kirk Cousins was really going to be legit. He's like, I don't think RG3 is going to be bad. But he's like, I think Kirk Cousins is the guy that's going to be a franchise quarterback for years to come. And I was like, damn, that's some praise over your number one, your first round pick. Damn, son. And then, of course, it turned out to be true. I see this offseason this year as pick your poison with all the players' skill sets, Farzy. Sean Kilrain, I'm with you right there. No doubt about that. Definitely pick your poison. I agree. We all agree. Sean Gillespie, wow, that throws it back. I really wonder how Marcus Mariota would have fared under Chip Emotional Genius Kelly. Yeah, man, I don't know. It hasn't been great for either guy, honestly. One of the things that I will go back to, though, and we'll talk again about actual genius and not actual smarts, is one thing I did believe Chip Kelly on, and I think he's still right on, is Marcus Mariota is a really smart quarterback. When it comes to studying, when it comes to knowing what he's supposed to do, it's executing that has been the problem. But as far as just being a good student, someone who understands, someone who can break down, like one of the things that made Nick Foles such a great backup quarterback was the work he would still put in as a backup quarterback. Now, that might sound obvious. Oh, he put in work and he was better. Well, yeah, but not everybody does that. There was the story from our friend Clay Harbor that he put out there about Nick Foles and how like a week 4 game against whoever, he was breaking down plays and with the chalk and or with the I don't know, grease pen, whatever the heck. Wow, almost the first time on the show I dropped that. Anyway, but whatever the heck it was, he'd be studying it like crazy. And he's like, Nick, you're not playing, dude. Forget it. He's like, well, I might. Marcus Mariota, I think, is that same type of mindset. That only helps your quarterback room. Rocking with Raul. What's going on? Wait, Rocking with Raul and the Two Amigos. Great name. I'm excited about about Eagles football. What do you think about Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter performance in training camp so far? I make a lot of it. I love it. I'm hearing, and I'll go back to it again. When you hear the veterans talking about these guys, or even not the Cam Jurgens is talking about how it's like, man, Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith for our guys on the edge there. Our tackles got to come out and block that guy. Look, everyone thinks their first round pick is going to be incredible. What was the term that we used yesterday with Smitty? from Barstool. What did he say? Oh, come on. I even wrote it down. I thought it was so funny. Balls to something hard. That's what Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith are going to bring to the table. They're going to work balls to something hard. There you go. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are awesome, as per usual. I'll be back with you guys tonight for Jacob Media Fightins postgame. After the Fightins hopefully take care of business against the Kansas City Royals. I look forward to that. I also want to give a shout-out. This is the Morning Rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, skymotorcars.com. I want to give a shout-out to Fred Gadelli, who I'd love to get on the show sometime, and hopefully we can work that out with our schedules. But Fred Gadelli is getting honored this weekend by the Pro Football Hall of Fame for his work in the television business. Fred was my boss for 11 years with Sunday Night Football. Got to travel around the country with him, got to know him. Incredible guy. And I'm telling you, the best boss I ever had. Not even close. I was only there one day a week with those guys, but I would go into the fire. I would step in just as the fire was starting to die down, like right before, and everyone would be like, oh God, what a week. And it was like, Fred pushed us so hard and everything. And I definitely heard it. I definitely saw it. I got it once, and it was mild. But it's the guy that everyone wants to work for. That's who Fred Gadelli is. The obvious is the guy's a genius when it comes to bringing a football game and putting it in your living room and making you feel like you're sitting right there on the sidelines. He does a phenomenal job, the best job anyone ever has of bringing football into your living room. He's going into an executive role. He was a producer for Sunday Night Football. He worked with John Madden. He worked with Al Michaels for all those years. He worked with Mike Patrick, excuse me, for ESPN Sunday Night Football back in the day. The man is absolutely incredible. And I think everybody wants a boss that keeps everybody at the same level. And I do mean everybody, from on-air talent to the 120th guy on the call sheet, on the production call sheet. I think I was number 118. But just really loved my time working for him. Couldn't be happier for him that he's getting honored by the Pro Football Hall of Fame for his service in the television industry. So Fred Gadelli, congratulations on that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. I'll be back with you guys tonight for the Jacob Media Fightins post-game show, live from my brother-in-law's, because I got to drive down to Maryland after the show today. So I look forward to that. And if I don't see you then, I'll see you on Sunday. I don't think we're going to do a show Saturday night because I'll be in a house full of 100 people. Yeah, we'll have our funsies with that. If not then, I'll see you on Monday, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is the Farzy Show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzad. Have a great rest of your day. Birds 365 is coming up at 8 o'clock today, right here on the Jacob Media YouTube channel with Jody McDonald. I think John McMullen will be joining briefly, and then they'll have a guest host in as well. Have a great weekend, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye.